Hello and welcome again to another episode of Sig Daddy's Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Sig Daddy, and today it's the Elimination Chamber review. I'll give you some highlights, kind of my analysis on each match, and grades from each match. 2 days removed from it now, and this was a polarizing pay-per-view for people, I think. From what I was reading online, people either liked this pay-per-view or just absolutely hated it. You'll find out what my take is on it here in a little bit. But let's get this thing started. Viking Raiders and Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins kick it off in Philadelphia before the pay-per-view gets officially underway. And this was all right. Hawkins and Ryder controlled the action late up until Ivar getting the hot tag, hitting a side slam and a running cross body. He charged Ryder into the corner. Ryder avoids it. Ivar then does his signature sit on Ryder. Big clothesline by Ivar. Eric then sends Ryder up in the air, and he rough Riders his own partner, Kurt Hawkins. And Eric hits the big knee, followed by the Viking Experience to finish it. And really, this was nothing really special. It was just a way to get to the Viking Raiders on the show along with Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, which it was nice to see them. But really, this is something we could easily see on Raw, and really nothing special, and really no rhyme or reason for it other than to get the Viking Raiders on the show. I'm going to give it a C grade for this match, and then we get it kicked off. This match was added, I think, pretty late. Daniel Bryan versus Drew Gulak. And this one, folks, it was different from anything else on the card, and that's a very good thing. It was a very good thing. The story of this one coming in was Drew Gulak talking about Daniel Bryan's weaknesses, and it was an opportunity for Drew to put his money where his mouth is and try to exploit those weaknesses, and there was some great stuff in this. It was slower paced, but we built up to a pretty good end portion of it. But Gulak, there was a couple times, a couple of fun little things. Gulak catching Bryan with the kicks. It was lots of leg work from Gulak, and Bryan at one time goes for a headstand, but Gulak had the head scissors in on the ground, and he did like a mini pile driver. I have never ever seen that, and I thought that was a cool little touch on the match. But a lot of neck work here from Gulak. There was also the suplex falling out of the ring spot where both guys went over and they beat the count. And then there was also Bryan jumping off top, Gulak dropping him with a back suplex. And Bryan, he just continues to sell the neck the whole entire match. And there was one part of this match where Gulak hit a German and then another one, but the second one, Bryan landed high and tight on his head. It looked scary as freaking heck, man. It looked scary, high and tight, but he's selling the neck and continues to sell the neck. Late, Bryan almost gets counted out. Bryan starts his comeback and hits a giant clothesline. Gulak hits a fantastic reverse suplex from the top. He transitions into the Dragon Sleeper from there, and Gulak elbows him to go back into it, and then Bryan rolls through, gets the yes lock, and he returns the favor that Gulak gave him earlier with the elbows, and then Bryan makes him pass out from the pain on the yes lock, and he shows Gulak respect post-match. And really, this was a good match, folks. Very, very good technical match. Nice psychology in it by Gulak. And Bryan made Gulak look really, really good. These guys work pretty well together, both technical masterminds, but I like that they were trying to tell the story that Bryan hasn't been the same since he faced the Fiend, and he's gotten a little more aggressive since then. And Bryan selling this was fantastic, and like you said, he made Gulak look like a superstar here. And I like that Bryan got the win by being crafty and reversing his finisher, Gulak's finisher, the Gulak. But A- grade for me, and fantastic match, very good. Very, very good match to start out the show. And honestly, I'm just going to spoil it for you now. This is the best match on the show. Best match on the show, in my opinion. Love the technical wrestling of this. A- grade for me. Just a little more of a story would have been better heading into this one and not being announced last minute, but I'm totally fine with it. Really good match. A- grade for me. After that, we get Kayla with Dolph and Bobby Roode, and they're talking about how they're going to win. They're going to pick up the pieces and become SmackDown Tag Champs. He doesn't need luck, does Ziggler, and says he's saying shout out to my babe, Mandy Rose, and he's dedicating their upcoming win to her. After that, we get Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo for the U.S. Championship, and really, this is nothing we haven't seen already from these two. There was, at points, they're pulling up the tarp, and they try to do it again. They keep going back to that same spot. This feud has been going on for forever, but late in the match, Zelina pulls up the mat. Andrade's going for the DDT on the concrete. Humberto reverses it. Humberto then dives over the official, hits a tope con hilo. Carrillo hits a big crossbody, but Andrade reverses it into a cover. And then they trade a bunch of covers like we've seen with Angel and Humberto recently. Andrade then cheats and gets a handful of tights to pin Humberto. This was fine, but it's like I've said, it's nothing we haven't seen before, and we've already seen this match a million times already. And we got the same finish as we got with Angel just a few weeks ago. And honestly, they should keep Humberto away from the title for a while. I said that probably a month or so ago, but I don't think they're going to do that. And speculation and rumor, or what you have it could be a fatal four-way at Mania between Humberto, Rey Mysterio, Andrade, and Angel. That should be good, but really, they should keep Humberto away from the title for a while. He's lost so many matches, big matches, and it wouldn't make sense for him to go over at Mania after he's lost so many dang times in big matches. It's like every single match, big match he's been in, or a singles match. He hardly ever wins any singles matches on Raw. But I think they've ran this feud into the ground pretty much. Not as bad as Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns, but honestly, they've ran it into the ground for me. The same matches week after week after week. It's getting old with me. This gets a C+ for me. After that, we get an interview with AJ Styles, and it's Gallows and Anderson joining him ringside for the match. And then Charlie questions the fairness of this and says it's pretty much never fair when you're facing AJ Styles. And AJ also jokes about getting disqualified, even though there is no DQs in their upcoming match on this show tonight. And then we get the SmackDown Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber. It's The Miz and John Morrison defending their newly won SmackDown Tag Team Championships against the New Day, Kofi and Big E, Robert Roode, and Dolph Ziggler, Lucha House Party, Lince Dorado, and Grand Metalik, Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker, and the Usos. And really the biggest feud heading into this is Ziggler and Otis, as they have that love triangle thing going on with Mandy Rose. This match is that Lucha House Party looks very, very good. There was some botched stuff at the beginning, but it was fine once they got it going. And one time, it was nuts that Grand Metalik hit a Hurricane Rana from the top of the pod on Morrison, and it was pretty cool. On that, Miz broke up the pinfall attempt, but I said, that was in my notes, is Lucha House Party looked really good on here, and really good in this match, even though they were hardly featured on television. And the cool part was, at one time when Heavy Machinery got in, they were wrecking everybody. Metalik climbs up the cage, and you see him there, and he's on top of the pod, but then out of frame, he's climbing all the way to the top of the ceiling and hits a shooting star press from there. And then Otis and Tucker avoid that. They hit a compactor on Metalik, and it gets Lucha House Party eliminated. Later on, Otis finally gets his hands on Ziggler, and Ziggler's on top of his pod at one time. Tucker climbs up unbeknownst to Ziggler, throws Ziggler into Otis, and then Otis flips on to New Day. Actually, not Otis, but Tucker flips on to New Day from the top of the pod. Otis later on fights off Rude and Ziggler. Rude goes for the DDT and gets backdropped. Otis tries to run into Ziggler through the pod. He ends up running through it, which was a cool sight to see, and through the chamber wall, and crashed down to the floor. And I thought that was a pretty innovative spot. And then the doctor's out to check on Otis. Tucker got angry. Tucker's getting angry. He lays in with the right to Ziggler. It's too much. Numbers game is too much for him. Dolph with a super kick and a glorious DDT eliminates Heavy Machinery. Crowd is not happy. Ziggler and company are taunting them as they leave. But then Kofi hits Trouble in Paradise on Ziggler when he turns around. Big E hits the big ending on Rude. Usos then go off the top of the pods with a double splash to eliminate Ziggler and Rude. I liked that they got a bunch of heat after that, did Ziggler and Rude, but then they were too busy taunting that they got caught and got taken out of the match. Then we get Kofi up top. Kofi hits a front suplex off the middle rope. Kofi misses with a cross body, and Miz and Ziggler Miz and Morrison steal it and pin him. And then it's down to Miz and Morrison against the Usos. So in this sequence, Miz and Morrison get super kicked by the Usos. Double splash attempts, one hits, and the Miz gets his knees up. Simultaneous pins by each of the teams, and Miz hits a skull-crushing finale, transitions into a figure four. Jay gets drop-kicked by Morrison. Starship pained by Morrison as Jimmy is sitting in the figure four leg lock. Jay breaks it up and almost pins Morrison. Super kicks to both Morrison and Miz, and they almost beat him. But then Miz, he gets the roll-up. Morrison over the top to cover him. Miz uses ropes to cheat and get the win for Miz and Morrison. Honestly, this match was, I thought, pretty good, but the finish was kind of underwhelming to me. But I thought it was pretty good for a tag team championship elimination chamber match. I thought Lucha House Party looked good. We got some innovative spots, especially with the Lince Dorado and Otis going through the chamber pod and the chamber. And the Otis stuff was pretty good because eventually, we were going to get Ziggler versus Otis at WrestleMania. And it's turning out to be a pretty good feud. And one nitpick I have from this match is I wish they would use the chamber a little bit more as a weapon. And with WWE PG, sometimes I feel like they're handcuffed with the chamber. And I've said before, maybe, the chamber is supposed to be one of the most brutal matches in the company. The chamber does get used a little bit more later, I'll say that. Overall, this match gets a B for me. I thought it was good. Just the finish was underwhelming. After that, we get Charlie with Natalia, and she gets asked about Beth. She's upset that Randy questions Beth as a mother. Won't think Randy will pull through once Edge gets his hands on him on Monday. And Natty is going to unleash her legacy because she's born to do this. After this, we get AJ Styles with Gallows and Anderson versus Aleister Black in a no DQ match. One nitpicky thing I got to get from this match is why are Gallows and Anderson ringside in a no DQ match and they don't do anything until late in the match? That was one thing I didn't like. But a lot of leg work in here from AJ Styles. Keeps going back to the leg. And one other nitpicky thing from this was Black at one point hits a knee on Styles. His leg's pretty damaged as he's climbing up top. Black somehow is able to do his signature moonsault, but I don't know why he undersold the knee when it's been worked pretty much the whole entire match. But he hits the hits the moonsault and then the running knee. even though his leg has been worked. Psychologically, I didn't get the psychology in that. Wish he would have sold it a bit more and not, at least if you try to go up for the moonsault, he kind of fails on it. But I'm nitpicking, but yeah. Late in the match, Styles runs Black over the announce table. AJ goes for a suplex. Black kicks his leg out, and Styles goes face first onto the announce table. There's a table set up ringside. Aleister Black hits a Meteora on Styles through the table ringside. Aleister Black back inside the ring, gets Styles up for the Black Mass. Gallows and Anderson get involved. Gallows eats a kick. Anderson eats a knee from Black. Black dares the whole OC to fight him. They gang up on him, beat him down, magic killer from him. Then Styles orders them to get Black up for the phenomenal forearm. The crowd's going nuts. The gong goes off. Lights go off. Come back on. It's Undertaker. And he gets a hold of Gallows and Anderson's throat. Styles goes up for phenomenal forearm. Taker catches him. Choke slams Styles. Gong goes off. Lights go black. And then lights go back on, turn back on. And Black is in the ring with Styles. Black hits the Black Mass on AJ. And he gets the 1, 2, and the 3. And I thought this was a really good match. And psychology was pretty good other than that one portion where Black didn't sell the leg, going for a running knee and a moonsault. But you can guess, the excuse you could use there is it was adrenaline, which is fine with me. But this it probably will set the table for AJ Styles versus Undertaker at Mania. I'm fine with that. They could have kind of not done the Super Showdown thing where Undertaker gets involved in Styles' match at the gauntlet match there. But my question after this match is, where does Aleister Black go? What does he get to do at Mania? Hopefully he's involved in a match, an actual match, and not just the Battle Royal at the beginning. Maybe they do make it a 3-on-2 handicap match. But I don't think they're doing that from what I've been hearing on Raw. Now that Raw is in the books, we found out that AJ Styles and Undertaker will have a contract signing for their match at WrestleMania next week on Monday Night Raw. So we're going to get probably Styles versus Undertaker, which I'm fine with. But Styles is going to have to carry the action because Undertaker, the last couple of WrestleMania matches, he's been kind of slow and he's 54 years old, so you kind of expect that. But we'll have to see how they book that match at WrestleMania. But if it were to be a 3-on-2 handicap match, this could be a great way to elevate Aleister Black and sort of kind of passing the torch in one dark character to another. But really, after this match, I thought it was a pretty solid pay-per-view at that point. B+ grade for the match. Fine match, good match from those two, as expected. After that, we get the Raw Tag Team title match between the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins versus Murphy and Rollins with AOP. The Street Profits cut a promo before the match to kind of use March Madness references and the Joel Embiid thing since they're in Philly. And they're claiming they're not a one and done and people need to trust the process. I can't stand Joel Embiid, but that's a different sport, different form of entertainment. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about wrestling on this show. But late in the match, Murphy is asking what to do next because Murphy had a knee strike on Dawkins and a double super kick on Ford for a near fall. And Dawkins reverses a pedigree attempt by Murphy. He gets the blind tag. Rollins eats a huge punch from Dawkins. A tag to Ford. Frog splash Ford. Rollins gets his knees up. He gets a roll up for a near fall. Ford then sidesteps the curb stomp. Murphy gets the tag. Buckle bomb combo by them. And then a Meteora from Murphy on to Ford. Dawkins makes the save on the cover. Then Rollins dives on Dawkins. He catches him. And Dawkins hits an exploder on the outside. Murphy and Ford then trade strikes in the ring. They're up top. Ford goes for a superplex. Murphy punches him off. Blind tag to Dawkins. They have Murphy for a double superplex. Then a Tower of Doom spot. by Rollins. Everyone's down. KO walks down to the stairs of the arena with popcorn in hand, and he's sitting on the Spanish announce table eating popcorn. KO then throws popcorn in Rollins' face as Rollins is outside the ring. And then Dawkins blindsides Rollins, hits a huge pounce on him outside the ring. Murphy goes for a suicida, gets caught by Ford and Dawkins, and then power bombed. Actually, he goes for a tope con hilo, and he gets caught by Ford and Dawkins, then power bombed into the barrier. They get him back in the ring. That spine buster frog splash combo on Murphy gets it done for the Street Profits. And following that was KO in the ring eating popcorn, Rollins asking actually his partner Murphy, what happened to you? KO stunners him again for the second show in a row, grabs his popcorn, eats it, leaves the ring, dumps it on Murphy for good measure. Overall, this as a match and as an angle, post-match angle, was pretty good. It continues the story of Rollins and Owens. And honestly, I thought this was better than the tag title match on Raw for Ford and Dawkins. But one thing I'll say about this is the third time they faced each other in a little over a week. And we found out on Raw, they did some kind of combination of it again. You can't keep running matches into the ground. Save something for later. But still, I thought this match was pretty good. It continues the setup for Rollins and Owens at WrestleMania. B+ grade. Will be interesting to see who the Street Profits possibly face at WrestleMania. But pretty good match overall. Pretty good tag match. B+ grade for me on that one. After that, we get the 3-on-1 handicap match. Braun Strowman defending his Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro. And it's a lot of 3-on-1 stuff. Strowman's trying to overcome the odds. And late in the match, Cesaro comes in. Strowman's throwing him around. Nakamura gets the tag. He ends up getting smashed. Zayn then attacks him before he can run around the ring. Zayn is running away a lot in this match. He'll hit Strowman when he's down, but he'll tag if he starts getting back up. Strowman does his run around the ring thing. Shinsuke and Cesaro get ran over. Cesaro actually gets sent into the crowd. Sami then hides under the ring. Strowman then gets stomped. They throw him into the ropes. Kinshasa into the corner, Kinshasa to the neck of Braun for a near fall. Cesaro then goes for the neutralizer. Then Strowman counters. Cesaro hits a reverse shoulder. Cesaro has a reverse shoulder block attempt, throws him into the ring post again. Cesaro reverses a shoulder block attempt by Strowman, throws him into the ring post again. Kinshasa into the ring post by Nakamura. Zayn comes in now, and they hit the double suplex Huluva kick triple team move. And that's our finish. Sami Zayn is the new Intercontinental Champion. And Sami Zayn's gloating post-match. And at first I was a little like, why'd they take the title off of Braun so early? But I'm fine with it. Because Sami Zayn is long overdue. He is long overdue. He hasn't won a singles title since he's been brought up to the main roster. Well, it was the main roster at the time. I still consider it the main roster. But Raw, he gets brought up. He hasn't won a title in 4 or 5 years since he's been called up. He finally gets the job done here. And he's been doing such great work on the mic. It was about time for him. It would have been nice to see Braun Strowman get a longer reign with the Intercontinental Championship, but I'm okay with him losing it here. And it's going to be interesting to see. Sami Zayn is going to gloat like there's no tomorrow about winning the IC title and beating Braun Strowman. And I think he'll do great things with the title, but I'm afraid they're going to do this. They're going to have Braun smash him at WrestleMania and squash him. But I was fine with it. Braun couldn't overcome the odds in this match. I get it. But I thought it was a solid match. one-on-one, I think Zayn will probably get destroyed at Mania. Hopefully that's not the case. I hope they do something else. But grade for me on this match is a B-. I was totally fine with it. Then we get the number one contenders Elimination Chamber match. So the winner of this one faces Becky Lynch at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. It's Asuka versus Sarah Logan versus Liv Morgan versus Ruby Riott versus Shayna Baszler versus Natalya. We get Riott and Natalya to start off the match. And really, the story doesn't start until Shayna enters, really. There's a Tower of Doom powerbomb spot on Logan and Riott, and Riott gets the worst of it. Then Shayna Baszler comes in. Yeah, Sarah Logan came in third, but yeah, there was that one spot, the Tower of Doom powerbomb on Logan and Riott by Natty, and Shayna Baszler enters, runs Natty into the ring post. She just runs through everybody, wrecks everybody. Gut wrench face buster, big knee on Logan, Karafuda clutch, Logan taps, bye-bye. Then Baszler hits another one of those gut wrench face busters, big knee, Karafuda clutch in on Riott, bye-bye, she's gone too. Baszler then puts Natty through the pod, slams the door on Natty multiple times, gets the Karafuda clutch on Natty, she taps too. And we still haven't had another entrant enter the match. Literally, Shayna Baszler cleans house. And during these breaks, Asuka's talking trash to Baszler, talking a bunch of garbage. And Shayna's just waiting for the next pod to open. That's one little critique I'll have from this match, is they took a little too long in getting the next person in. But that's fine. Morgan comes in next. She gets powerbombed into the chamber cage, whipped into the cage head first, and then into the pod, which there was a giant thud in there, and it made Baszler look like a total freaking monster. Morgan, she tries to fight back. She looks strong. She eats a clothesline, though. Morgan then eats a knee in the corner. Baszler then taunts Asuka with Morgan, and she's showing Asuka, this is what's going to happen to you next. And Karafuda clutch from the middle rope outside the ring by Asuka's pod by Baszler. She stares Asuka down the whole entire time. And then Liv doesn't tap, but she passes out. That makes Liv look strong and resilient. That's fine. I thought they also should have done a little bit more with the Riott Squad tease in this. The Riott Squad feud. But they covered that on Raw. I'm fine. The whole point of this match was to make Baszler look like a huge threat to Becky's title, and I think they did just that here. Eventually, we get Asuka in, and it's Asuka versus Baszler, the final two in this. Asuka hits a hip attack on Baszler. She lays into her with kicks. Baszler catches her leg, takes her down, kicks from Baszler. Baszler then goes for the gut wrench facebuster. It's countered. And big kick from Asuka. Asuka lock gets countered. Asuka then counters it again, puts it back into the Asuka lock. She countered the Karafuda clutch. Baszler rolls out of the ring and throws Asuka into the chamber. Asuka tries to keep fighting. Baszler's too much for. She works the injured left wrist of Asuka. Gets the Karafuda clutch in on Asuka. Asuka tries to pin her but gets no count. Baszler then manipulates the wrist once again. Gut wrench face buster, knee to Asuka, Karafuda clutch, and it's academic. Asuka passes out. That's it. Your winner and new number one contender for Becky Lynch's Raw Women's Championship is Shayna Baszler. She will challenge Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. And really, people were very divided on this match. The point of this was to get to Baszler and Becky and make Baszler feel like an enormous threat to Becky's title. Becky, she's kind of getting too big for her own head. She's getting very, very cocky. And it's setting up for Baszler to humble her at Mania. They needed Baszler to look like a complete beast in this match. Fans did not like it. I personally really, really, really liked it. It's exactly what it needed to be. Baszler, she looked like a total badass. total savage, eliminating everybody. It was a different chamber match than what we've ever seen in history of the Elimination Chamber matches. You had one person just absolutely run through everybody and eliminate them. And Asuka put up the best fight out of anyone. But really, Baszler was just too much for her. And really, that's how you establish Baszler as a monster. Just running through everybody. I know people are fans of not thinking their favorites getting buried. This was just all a